Hello, everyone. You are welcome to Susuana on the Move, or if you're on our platform, Conversation with Susuana. You're all welcome. Thanks for joining us. And it's your host, Susuana Olatunji Komolafe, joining you guys today. I hope everyone is keeping well. Today is Friday. We're starting the weekend. The first section of this conscious bias, an introduction to conscious bias, the ideology around conscious bias. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to if you had the opportunity to listen to that presentation, and if not, you can go back on our YouTube channel to listen to it. And so there's always going to be time for you to make comments and to let us know what you're thinking. You can also go onto my LinkedIn platform as well to engage in conversation around conscious bias. And again, just to pioneering this ideology around conscious bias, I strongly believe that this is an ideology concept that has a very it could really resolve the issue of racism, and the whole idea about that is that if we start taking accountability, for our actions, that goes a long way to resolve the issue of racism in our community, and just accepting our own explicit bias really goes a long way to make a big difference. So again, just to introduce myself, my name is Susuana Olatunji Komolafe. I'm the CEO of the Afro in Diaspora Center, an organization that supports African Caribbean community here in Ireland. And these, being an educator, this idea of, you know, bringing a concept to life, it's something that I really believe in. And the idea of consciousness bias has always been something that I felt should be more promoted and within our community and our society. And I believe it will go a long way in resolving the issues around racism. We talk a lot about accountability, and I think this is what conscious bias means, because it allows you to take accountability of who you are as a person, of your own ideology, your own way of thinking about life and about people within your society around you, how you see them, what you think of them, how you engage with them, and taking that accountability, taking responsibility for your action, and being aware of it allows you to behave behave in a manner that really says who you are. So how today we talk more about understanding the concept of this conscious bias, understanding it, conscious bias, which is also known, and you can refer to it as explicit bias or explicit prejudice. You can either refer to it as explicit bias or explicit prejudice. Referring to these biases or your opinion, it could be your opinion or your attitude that the person is aware of and chooses to act on. So I'm aware of something and I'm taking the accountability to act to do. I'm acting on it, then I have to be able to take accountability for choosing to act on those in with that opinion which I have, or the attitude in which I behave. So the differences from that to unconscious bias is that the unconscious bias is implicit bias, which describes prejudice or stereotypes that operate automatically, often without a person awareness. Now, from what we discussed the last time, I spoke about the differences between a conscious bias and an unconscious bias. What are the what are the differences between the two? And understanding those differences really gives clarity to this concept of conscious bias, gives you more into understanding the ideology in this context. So, like I said, today we are here to continue that presentation which we started, which is the introduction to the conscious bias. And today we're talking about really understanding what this conscious bias really mean. So, like I said, from the last presentation, I spoke about the differences, the clear differences between the two. And now we want to focus on understanding what conscious bias means. So, today I'm going to talk about the key ideas of conscious bias and how these come to play within our own society. So, we're going to talk about gender, we're going to talk about race, we're going to talk about religion. Now, you will all agree with me that these three things we're starting with, they they are they are significant things in our society that really defines a lot of the ways in which we engage with ourselves. That these are key areas of conscious bias. These three things: our gender, being either a man or a woman, and that's where the area in which I'm limiting myself, either you're a man or a woman. Race, which to me is one race. Religion, which is diverse. Now, I'm not talking about faith, but I'm talking really about religion, that institutional body which we have, religion. So these are the key areas of conscious bias that we're going to go into as we start having this conversation around the concept of conscious bias, the ideology, which I'm hoping is going to be a global acceptable phenomenon, and become a conversation that we all get involved in. So as we go on, we're going to discuss about the key areas of this conscious bias, and I'm starting with three things: uh, gender, race, and religion. Today it's about understanding the concept which I'm pioneering, trying to pioneer this concept of conscious bias. So let's start with gender. Understanding the biases in gender representation. So this is going to be this will be for so many people that might be watching or listening to this. They are going to be divided around the issue of gender, And like I said to you, this whole idea of conscious bias is taking accountability, accepting your own attitude towards your society or life or an idea, um, taking responsibility for your own opinion or how you think, and taking ownership of it without having to feel you have to conform to other people's opinion. But just that is what you feel. So we're starting with gender, and coming from my own thinking and my own opinion, and like I said, this is my own opinion. It's not about offending anyone. It's just an opinion that I have, and I'm taking accountability for it. And that is why I said, if we start taking accountability for our prejudice, our implicity, explicit biases that we have, it will go a long way to resolve the issues around racism. It has a solution for it. So, what I'm saying is that my own opinion about gender is that we have just two gender, because technically and in every way, I've only been able to identify two gender. It's either you are a male or a female. A male divine, which is defined based on the gender or the genotype or the um that you have from birth, that defines you the moment you come into this world. So you either come into this world as a female or as a male. That is how you come into this world. Before you start navigating your life, before you start buying into societal ideas, when you come into the world, you either come into this world by either as a male or a female, and your gender is defined from birth. Period. Is defined from birth. That's my opinion, and that's how you come into this world. Now, as you navigate your life, a lot of things could happen between your birth and the process of navigating your life. But what I know about gender is that it's assigned to us from birth. No one in this world can deny that. So if you come into the world with having the two gender within you, that is the way you're being. That is the way you're being. That is what has been assigned to you. Some people can come into the world having both gender on them. So I said we're discussing gender, so I don't want to get away from that. We're talking about the key areas of conscious bias, and I'm starting. We have three things we're talking about. We're going to talk about gender, we're going to talk about race, and we're going to talk about religion. So I'm starting with gender, and I'm saying that gender is defined, assigned to us from birth. So you can either be a male or a female. You can either have the two gender within you from birth, which is assigned to you. We can call that deformity. We can call it anything, but it has been assigned to you. So there's no other gender that is assigned to anyone. Nobody in this world coming to the world genderless. No one. Everybody is assigned at birth with a gender. So is it that male or female, or you have both on you? That's it. It is just nothing else. Now, as you navigate your world, you can choose to become whatever, but that is what is assigned to you by birth. That is my own opinion. These are my own conscious bias. This is my own prejudice. explicit biases that I have regarding gender. And how do I now navigate these within the society in a way that does not create conflicts? Is about taking accountability. That does not create conflict or bring about racism within the society or affect other people's idea. And this is what we're talking about. We're going to talk more about that, but I would love that people engage with me on this idea of gender through the comment space. I would love people to engage with me. If you're on YouTube, you have an opportunity to put on your comment. I can actually see it live and bring it up. If you want to join as well, I can bring you into the studio if you want to join me. If you're on LinkedIn, you have an opportunity to actually see these and comment as well. I'll be able to see your comments and I can respond in time to your comments. Please, when you come across this, share with other people, have conversations around these. This is a concept that I'm pioneering, an ideology which I want to pioneer, and we love to get other people's views around the conversation. So, today we're talking about understanding conscious bias, and we've we've defined what conscious bias means. We've talked about the difference between a conscious bias and an unconscious bias. I've given you an introduction and a background to who I am, which we started last week. You can see that from the previous one, and the what started this conversation and this concept on this conscious bias ideology. So there's so many ways in which you can join us. There's so many ways you can be part of this conversation. We would love to see you be part of this conversation with us. So today we're talking about gender as one of the key areas of conscious bias. And I'm also going to, while I have you all here, talk a little bit more about understanding the ideology in this context of this concept of conscious bias, which I'm talking about. Understanding the ideology in this context of what this conversation we're having, this concept of conscious bias. Conscious bias. How do you understand it? So, an ideology, and I'll just let us understand that, is that an ideology is broadly means a belief system or a worldview, a set of interrelated ideas or principles about how society should be organized, how people should behave, and what values are central. Ideologies shapes not just only how as individual we think, but also how society structures institutions, social norms, and relations. So I'll read this to you. Or Susuana Olatunji Komolafe would like to pioneer a worldview, which is an ideology, that begins with explicitly conscious biases. That is, people are aware of their prejudice or attitude, and these biases form the foundation of a new or an alternative ideology. Ideology. So this is what the whole concept. This is the concept I would love you guys to understand as you continue to join me on this presentation. This is what I would like all of you to understand from this. And I will really be happy to see you guys engaging with me in the comment space. So, like I said today, it's about gender. We're talking about this as one of the key areas of conscious bias. Um, so, we're talking about these as one of the key areas of conscious bias. So, and I we strongly want to start hearing other people's views around these, around gender. What is your own attitude towards gender? What is your attitude towards gender? I've expressed my and I've defined what I feel, and I'm taking accountability for that. So that means taking accountability means I'm open to correction. I'm ready to engage in conversation. This is my own opinion that I'm holding on to. This is a belief in which I believe in. And that's my attitude towards what gender means to me. So what is your own attitude towards gender? Let us have the conversation. Sorry guys. I have to sip a bit of tea there. So what is your own belief system around what gender means? Let us know that through the comment space. What is your opinion on gender, which is one of the key areas of this conscious bias we're talking about? Your attitude, your opinion, your belief system, around gender. Let us know. So, as you continue to join me on this conversation on conscious bias, and as you continue to get to know more about myself on these ideology and understanding this ideology in the contents of the concept, in the contents, in this context of the concept of conscious bias, that it is an ideology broadly means a belief system, an ideology meaning a belief system. So, and I am the force to articulate or adopt these biases as part of a coherent ideology, not just isolated prejudice. I don't want it to be just an isolated prejudice, but a systematic belief system built around us, and that we can take accountability for it. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that rather than being an unintentional or unconscious prejudice, which many use to explain this idea of systematic bias, which we have in our society today, this has been used so much for that. It has really not taken us much to anywhere. This action is a deliberate and self-aware ideology, meaning I want us to be self-aware of our prejudice, of our belief system, of our ideology. Become self-aware of it, hold on to it, understand it, and then take accountability for it. Be aware of it, so that when you're aware, it really shapes the way you talk, the way you behave, and the way you engage with people. Maybe one that says, yes, I acknowledge these biases. That is what I mean. Taking accountability is something we're going to be talking a lot about it. Saying, yes, I acknowledge these biases, and I build my worldview around it. That's what I'm saying. And I believe that these will go a long way to resolve issues of racism in our society today, taking accountability for our views. There is no way we're going to talk about conscious bias without coming to that point of accountability. Raising up your hand saying, yes, I acknowledge the biases which I have. knowing that and don't allowing it to really reflect the way and your attitude towards others in the community, within the society, and how you shape the way you actually really engage with people. We will talk a lot about why is this a problem. We will talk a lot about why is this a problem in our society. Why do we need to address this problem? Why is it important that this of problem is being addressed in our community? That we actually become open to addressing this issue in our community. It is important that we can do this, and it will be great if we start, allowing this to really shape our own thinking, knowing what a conscious bias means. One, what it means if Susanna says, I'm pioneering this new ideology. What does that mean? What does that mean in a global space? No, understanding this ideology. What are the framework and the models in which we are going to take? How do we build an academic and social cultural credibility around this concept? So these are things. How do we rebrand it? What are the ethical steps that we need to take in addressing this issue? These are the things that I'm hoping we can come to a good understanding of. Yes, this is how we hope to approach it, and this is what we are going to do in order to really approach this issue in our community. It's good to spend this time with you all, having this presentation, having this conversation. I would love that you guys share this for me with other people. I would really love that it is being shared with other people, um, as you all gather together. Share these on your platforms, and tell other people about it. And hopefully you join us again as we continue. So we've only talked about gender today. When next week coming, we're going to talk about race. We're going to talk about religion, addressing racial prejudice and stereotype. We're going to talk about exploring biases tied to religious belief. We're also going to talk about the impact of conscious bias and how biases affect opportunities and equity in our society. We're going to talk about conscious consequence of biases within our society and exploring the powerful impact of this discrimination and inequality in which we have. So there's so much that we're going to come. So follow us, keep following us as we continue to bring to life this concept of conscious bias by Susuana Olatunji Komolafe. So thank you all, and coming to an end, we just play us out with some music um, for us to, while we just enjoy the day.